Good morning. Happy Wednesday. I've got trial in the morning, so looks like it'll be a fun one too. And by fun, I mean it's going to be very technically complicated with a lot of argumentation resolving around Henry the Marriage of Stoner versus More Marsden versus just a straight up community property asset. Not a lot of money on the line. Funny thing about divorce cases is that the harder you fight, well, you're not going to get a lot. If the other side's going to fight you, you're not going to get a lot, just period. Either they get it all or you fight back and your lawyers get it. It's a pretty terrible situation. But what are you going to do? Anyway, it's going to be fun for me because I enjoy those technical kinds of arguments, and I get to convince a judge, and that's always a fun thing. I apologize a little bit for being somewhat unprepared this morning. I don't have a lot to talk about. I don't have really much of anything to talk about. So, oh boy, he's got a stick. So it's going to be one of those walks. I'm stepping on it. Ha ha ha. Okay, you got it. Oh, Jesus. Anyway, yeah, he found a stick. So I was at work very late last night, at least for me, and didn't have a lot of time to catch up on anything. And quite honestly, I find most audits to be somewhat boring at this point. And I don't really feel like explaining yet again how, yes, you really were trespassing. No, you can't create a disturbance. No, you can't film in the post office. You're retarded to film in the library, things like that. So there you go. So instead, there's a bunch of things about the Covington High School kids in my particular news feed, and I was watching that. And I can relate that to our little community. In that the media reported it in a propaganda attempt. They didn't include all the details. They left out huge chunks. They selectively edited in order to arouse the passions of the viewing audience. And then the truth came out, and lo and behold, people are getting upset. There's still a rabid fan base who is determined to believe what the news media reported. But the analogy is that's exactly what goes on in our little community. I mean, take the toddler held at gunpoint video that Freeman made. He makes this video. He apparently he said in his live stream he just doesn't have time. You know, the unemployed guy who's driving from state to state doesn't have time to do a 2-minute Google search to find out anything about this, because it was literally a 2-minute Google search that would pull up the body cam footage. He didn't have time for that. He has time to do like 3-hour-long streams, but he doesn't have time to do a 2-minute Google search. So he puts out this poorly produced, slanted, biased propaganda. And then I make a video on it showing clearly how he's using it as propaganda, and he pulls it down. And yet there are going to be those people who are still going to believe. I mean, the next day, I think it was the next day, Padilla threw it up there. Padilla made his own video. Because fuck it, it gets clicks. There's people who want to see it. There's people who don't know better. People who won't do their own research. It's not a very good look. It's not a very good look. If you are on the side that is doing the propaganda, it is not a very good look. Speaking of propaganda, I did finally actually pay attention to and watch the video that accuses me of lying. And I noticed that there's no responses from my opposition in that, and I thought that was really weird. So I actually went to the video and looked at the comments there. And all my comments are still there. I mean, you could look at his video and you could look at the comments. I am not that guy. I still have videos up with things where I said the wrong thing in them. And instead of me pulling the video down, I have just made a mea culpa. You may have noticed there's been no mea culpa. The article or the title of my previous video was, "Oh no, I was caught in a lie," which was tongue-in-cheek. It was sarcastic. I absolutely was not. And I showed you the evidence of why. Not only did I show you a valid definition used by actual attorneys, but I showed you a definition used by a federal court in California. And I explained why I actually don't abide by that particular mindset anymore. Because I do think it's like, I think it's like a PhD calling him or herself a doctor. Or even an MD who's not licensed. Well, an MD who's not licensed calling himself a doctor, I wouldn't have a problem with. I don't know, maybe it's not completely analogous, but it has become so commonly confused. The two terms have become so commonly confused that I am not particularly okay with them being used as particularly as I was using it in that video. But look at the comments. Look at the comments in there. We don't see what this Jeremiah Baker says. It starts off with me making an argument. The channel owner responds, and you can find it. It's the top comment on the video. My video is the top comment on the video. It's right up top. So kudos to the channel owner for not deleting it or censoring my free speech. But it starts off with me pulling up the ordinances and posting them out and saying, yeah, I mean, it's content neutral. It's perfectly valid, free or a public forum, time, place, and manner restriction. Perfectly valid. The channel owner responds. I respond back to him. And then somebody else named Jeremiah Baker, or something like that, says something in there, and we don't know what he said. And so I respond back stating that I'm a lawyer. And I was a lawyer, and I am a lawyer, and I always will be a lawyer because I graduated from law school. I have a Juris Doctorate. I am a lawyer. And no, by the way, D. Cup Jones is not a lawyer. A bar card attorney did not say D. Cup Jones was an attorney. D. Cup Jones is not learned in the law. He did not study the law. By study, they mean actually, going to law school, getting a JD or an LLM. Although I wouldn't put past Deacon Jones to give himself his own Juris Doctorate. He'll make up the Jesus School of Sovereign Citizens and give himself his own JD. Of course, it's not accredited, and his JD won't be worth anything, and he won't be able to actually sit for the bar because he's not a lawyer. But anyway, my point is, go read it. Go read it for yourself. You'll see that I am arguing with someone who is claiming to be a lawyer. Read it for yourself. I mean, if he came in claiming to be a lawyer and I smelled bullshit, I don't know, maybe that's what set me off. I don't remember the conversation, to be perfectly honest with you. It was 3 years ago, or 2 years ago, or somewhere in there years ago. It was a long time ago. I don't remember it. But go read it for yourself. We are missing half the conversation because we don't know what the other guy said, except from my responses to him. And if you look at my final response to him, or at least somewhere down there, I said, oh, so you admit you're not a lawyer. So why don't you go get a real lawyer? He said he had like a free speech lawyer. Why don't you go get him and pay him $600 to explain to you how public forums work? And then this guy deletes his comments. I mean, let's think about this. Let's use our brains. Let's put our thinking caps on for a minute. Number one, I didn't lie. And number two, I didn't make a habit. I was actually kind of thinking that for some reason, I was pulling a appeal to authority argument, which is a fallacy. And I wouldn't have been terribly proud of that, but it doesn't look like I was. I was actually using I was actually using the statutes and logic appropriately. I think I was countering his claims of being a lawyer. I think I was countering his appeal to authority, but I don't know. Again, we only have half the conversation. But he was apparently claiming to be a lawyer, and then he stopped claiming to be a lawyer. So, and in context, if you go to my channel, you will see a screenshot of, oh God, why can't I remember her name? I'm the OG troll. God, who the hell said that? But I've been trolling this community for a long time, and if I was quick to drop that I was a lawyer, well, you would have seen it. Like, I had a lot of conversations with RTR, and before I actually graduated from law school, I did not call myself a lawyer to him because he didn't call himself a lawyer to me. He was very specific in his word choices, and he said, I graduated from law school, and I would say back, yeah, I graduated from law school. And then I'd push him, or, you know, did you sit for the bar? Do you have a bar number? And you would never answer that, and that's how I knew. Anyway, my point is that if you go and you read it, you will see, number one, it was an argument that we were only getting half of the story on, and number two, I won that motherfucker. And number three, again, I was a lawyer. By the technical definition of it, I was a lawyer, just like a PhD is a doctor. Just like I could call myself a doctor because I have a Juris Doctorate. I mean, that would be, again, I wouldn't do it, but technically I'd be right. So anyway, Decep Jones, I'm not saying now, nor have I ever said that he's learned in the law, and him, quote, studying the law, end quote, for 40 years really puts a negative spin on him because he doesn't understand his asshole from his elbow, legally speaking. Oh, other news. So I got an email from Discord. I had to make my all of my little channels in my server not safe for work because, you know, free speech means that if somebody really wants to drop porn on there, they can. And apparently someone complained yesterday. And I wonder who possibly could have done that. Anyway, so if you go into my Discord, you will see that everything is now 18 plus, not safe for work, because children will be children. And by children, I mean the adults who go into my Discord who think it's funny to drop midget porn and amputee porn in there to offend people. Whatever. It's still fun. And there are still adults in there talking around the children if you are interested. And no, I still don't censor it. And yes, everyone is welcome, even if you think you're my most hated enemy. Number one, you're not. And number two, you're still welcome. As Ben will attest, he had free reign in my Discord the entire time that he chose to be on there. He says that he gave me lots of options, obviously, to speak to him. He would come in at 9:30 at night or later. I would be going to bed at 9:30 at night. So no, he's not worth talking to at 9:30 at night. And number two, I did not invite him to speak on Sunday. He was invited by people in my Discord who wanted to hear us speak, and I'm fine with that. The reason why he is a pussy is because he bounced the fuck out. He said he'd do it, or at least he said he'd try to do it, but on the day of he had left my Discord server. He was obviously not interested in it. It's kind of like, I don't know if any of you are familiar with the Andy Worski Tonkasaw fight, where Tonkasaw talked a mad stack of shit about Andy Worski and how he was gonna fuck him up in the ring. And then ring day comes and Andy Worski's there and waiting and Tonkasaw's nowhere to be found. That's what it is. Just exposed him as not only being a liar, but a pussy. Speaking of liars, To date, I don't know if anybody has called my work still. I still don't know that because no one said shit to me. So womp womp. So if you have called, apparently my boss didn't think you were fucking worth talking to. Number two is I have had no complaints brought to my attention from the state bar. So if you have submitted complaints, apparently the state bar thinks they're fucking worthless. So womp womp. Number three, while I've had multiple people tell me that they have filed lawsuits on me, I have yet to be served with a lawsuit. I don't change anything about where I go, what I do. I'm sure everybody out there knows where I live and knows where I work and all that other fun stuff. I haven't been served. So womp womp. It is absolutely amazing to me the fail train that this community is when it comes to trying to shut down a first year family law attorney. And I know a lot of you can't tell when I'm saying things tongue in cheek, but that's fine. You're fucking retarded. Just call me a first year family law attorney and just feel bad that you can't counter any of my arguments because you're stupid. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.